Organized Grind with Oracle Uno.
Yeah.
Recorded live at Graph Fruit Studios in South Minneapolis.
Sorry.
Yes, y'all. This is Organized Grind, the podcast. I'm Oracle Uno, checking in once again. This is episode number 47, and as always, we have a highly prestigious guest on the podcast today. He goes by the name of Try Daddy, Try D for short. Why don't you say what's up, man?
How's it going, party people?
Yeah.
What's good?
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do like we always do. Gonna get into some cool hip hop shit and all that. Try D is a battle champion of the Twin Cities. He is a veteran, highly regarded general of this hip hop shit in the Twin Cities. How are you feeling, Try?
I'm feeling good. Got a nice full belly. Just came from happy hour over Sonora's. I think you say it's
Sonora Grill?
Sonora's, yeah, Sonora Grill.
Yeah, shout out Sonora Grill.
Yeah, throw him some money.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's dope. Me and Try D go way back. Way back. I mean, when I was just a young teenager, and he was rolling with a crew at the time called Broken Home. I'm sure we can talk about some Broken Home shit and everything. Yeah. It's a part of the story.
Oh, it's a long story.
Yeah, man. But why don't we go ahead and kick it off? What's your first memory of hip hop?
My very first memory is I was somewhere between the ages of, I want to say 11 and 13, like somewhere around then, like that I can recall, like really remember fresh in the head. And what it was I had ran around with a friend in the West Bank community named Siddiqui Foster. Siddiqui is a Swahili name. And so we would run around this apartment area. It's now, I believe, called Riverside Flats or Riverside something. But before that, it was called Riverside Plaza. And we used to run around the second level over by what used to be a Tom Thumb, like in that area between the apartment buildings.
Okay.
And we would like just find a little area, and we would listen to hip hop music and start freestyling and rapping.
Okay. Like what's one of the first songs that you can think of that like grabbed your attention?
I know one of the very first ones that came out to me was the Sugar Hill Gang.
Okay.
Hotel, where it was like Hotel Motel. That song, as well as I believe it was Marley Marl did, if I'm saying his name right, but he did the song where it's like broken glass everywhere. Like those two really stick out in my brain.
Yep. The Furious Five. Yeah.
And then around the time when I was getting into it, the nice thing was like breakdancing was the biggest theme, and then DJing followed, and graffiti was already happening. But what I recall or recollect the most, flashing again to Riverside Plaza, was they had a competition, and there was this big breakdance battle. And of course, I thought I could breakdance. I got a rude awakening that I'm not good. I got rhythm, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I just don't got a lot of footwork.
Right.
And I commend, my hat is completely off the breakdancers. Because some of the stuff that they can do, and I've witnessed them do, is utterly amazing.
Right.
But yeah, I tried to give it a shot, I seen somebody was like, I joined in with someone as well as seeing someone make money with a hat. He had a hat out.
Yeah.
And he was collecting, change and dollars and stuff from breakdancing outside of what is now called the HCMC, is that big hospital.
Yeah.
And it was down on that side. But, and I give it, like I said, I give it a shot thinking I could do it. And again, know that I'm not equipped for that.
Right.
So
that was the same way I cracked into hip hop too, was breaking. I gave it a shot, thought that I was cool because I could spin on the floor and stuff like that. And then I went to a cousin's birthday party. Maria Issa was there. I was only like 12 or 13 years old, and she knew my cousin. And he was an actual dancer, right? And so I'm at this party, and they're like, yo, like, he wants to, like, dance with you for this thing, right? And, like, they were making it seem like me and him were going to dance together. And so all of the family comes outside. There's, like, 60 people outside. And this was not a collaborative thing. This was a battle. And it was a one-on-one pop-locking battle that I was not prepared for. So like I'm doing like some little ground moves and stuff like that.
You're
and
trying
everything.
to hold your own.
This motherfucker eats my heart. Makes my heart beat inside of his chest. Fucking devoured me. I was only
He hit
like
you with the heartbeat.
I was
chest.
only like 12, and at that point I was like, all right,
Exactly.
I am not a breaker.
No, and that's around the age too. Like I said, I got really into it around age 9.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 45 cycles around the planet now, but I got into it really serious around 9, and then stopped for a minute. You know, especially after that breakdance thing. Like, I don't know if I'm meant for hip hop.
Yeah.
And then got serious again. Like, I started really taking this serious in '93. I've even been quoted on CDs and records and other things saying that.
Okay.
But the thing was, like, this was the time, like, when it was really jumping up. And I was really getting into it and taking notice. You know, so, like, music especially. My greatest highlight or something that sticks out in my brain would be that my mother worked a lot. So when I'd get off of school, I'd be by myself for several hours.
Right.
And one thing I would do, it pissed her off, by the way, this is a side note, but she was raising me Jewish, and I would cook things of dairy in a meat pan.
Okay.
And then I would go to this corner store, though, and I would cop a box of mac and cheese, and then I would go down to the liquor store, and it's still there. This liquor store is right before the Triple Rock. And I would get a liter of Coke, and I would consume both all at once and get gut rot like crazy.
Nice.
But the point being is I'd get home and I'd listen to the radio, and I was listening to, like, listening to music, and things that would just stick out would be hip-hop.
Sure.
Whether it was break beats or samples that they use, you know. And at the time, again, it wasn't huge on KDWB so much as it was on Camo J.
Right.
Excuse me. But it would be something that I would get home, and then it would be like the highlight of my evening, you know. And again, trying to dance, not good at.
Yeah.
But
So we have a large audience that is not in the Twin Cities. So I know it's super easy to just talk about here, like everyone knows where here is. But why don't we start from the beginning and tell us where you grew up at?
all right. Well, I grew up south side Minneapolis, and when I say south side, it was the West Bank area, Riverside community. If people are familiar with, like, maybe landmarks and areas, the first house I ever lived in was across the street from where Hard Times Cafe is.
Okay, yeah.
This was a location at the time. Now it's currently a parking lot or a garage spot of some sort, but it's directly across the street, and that was where I first grew up. And now it's 4th and Cedar.
Okay.
So adjacent, again, across from the Hard Rock. And I would go, and this is another landmark, but the Dinky Towner used to be, before it was in Dinkytown, used to be where the Hard Rock Cafe is, or the Hard Times. Sorry, not Hard Rock. Hard Times Cafe is. And before it was the Hard Times, it was the Dinkytowner. And I would go in there on Saturdays.
Oh, wow.
When they weren't open, because they're a bar establishment. They wouldn't open until about 3, somewhere between 3 and 5, I believe it was. And I would go in there, and the side entrance was never locked in case early staff had to come in and set up.
Sure.
So they let me slide up in there, and I would watch cartoons early Saturday morning, because I had realistically, like, the TV we watched shows on was a 9-inch black and white.
Okay.
So if I could get some color action, I was all for it.
Yeah.
So I would slide up in there, and I would also play with the jukebox, and I would listen to, like, Michael Jackson, and I would listen to whatever was on the jukebox. But that's, again, in the south side of Minneapolis, kind of 4th and Cedar area.
Sure. Okay.
So that's where I got my first 15 years
Okay.
of
So
music.
you were born here.
Born south side. Been in Minnesota all my life.
Okay. Cool. What was school like for you?
School was wild, like, when I went. And then that's another thing. But when I was going, I started off going to Seward Elementary, then slid from Seward Elementary to City Incorporated. And the City Inc. is actually right down Lake Street, right before Bloomington and Lake.
Okay.
That's where it was. I believe there's a charter school similar to it still there. But grew up going there. Then I went from there to South High, where I attended with Zach, who you've had on your cast, and you've also had Unicus Harry.
Yep.
We all went to South for a minute, and then I had to leave from South High and go on a magnet program to Roosevelt.
Okay.
And I was there. I didn't keep my grades up.
Oh,
So I had to go finish out school at what was called WOC, which is no longer a school. if you're familiar with Uptown, they turned Uptown into a really yuppie area. And these are all my opinions.
Yeah.
But they turned it into a kind of yuppie area. So what has become a school is now, I believe, a condominium. So,
Okay.
but that's why I went to schools, all them schools.
Okay. So when you were going to South with all them, were you involved with all that hip hop stuff that they were talking about when they were first starting to get involved?
I mean, I kind of played the background more or less. Like for me, I was more observant. I didn't want to step in and make another mistake how I did with breakdancing. So I took I did take my time, or my
Right.
introduction was more slower to it than them. Like I was seen but not heard.
Okay.
So I know Zach saw me around. Then when I did start getting into MCing, was a venue, is called The Industry. It's now actually a strip club across from Sex World. Again, sorry to give all these places
Is that the VU?
advertisement. No, it's it was directly
Oh, no,
across
Sex World,
from
right.
Sex World, but it's a strip club
That's
now.
right.
But long story short, is The Industry. The Industry was a Sunday night pop off, and I was in my I want to say technically my second crew, but like I was the first crew. Again, I started with Siddiqui. Me and him had another friend, and we rapped with him, and then we ended up moving into different neighborhoods, and we still hung out. But then I would go down to this spot on Sundays, and I started hanging with a bunch of 5% cats, the Gods and Earths.
Yep.
I would hang with one of the many cats was Vibes, Precise Logic, Douglas Maccabee. I was hanging out with Mental Madness, and like a bunch of cats that I would run with. I was rapping with, like just freestyling and having fun.
Sure.
Majority of the time we did it at the Mall of America's bus stop, like where people would wait to catch the bus, or we would do it on the 180. We'd be in the back just rapping and battling cats.
Okay. So you started breaking, that didn't work out. What was your beginnings as far as like your first rhymes? Like what made you think that you could rhyme?
I didn't really think I was that great at rhyming until I met Unicus Harry. It was at a Cedar Fest. Like I was good, like, and I thought I was good, but I didn't start believing in my lyrics until I sat down with him and Kanser, and we were in Ant's basement, and I wrote a verse to an Ant beat, and the beat, of course, bananas. Like I think to this day, and there's a lot of producers, you and a bunch of others, that I fully feel fall into this category. They can make a beat and it still be timeless. Like, so certain cats can make beats and it's still relevant 20, 30 years later.
Sure.
But my point being is I sat down there and I'm with these veterans who are now vets and people I love and respect. I'm sitting there and I'm writing my verse, and I was the weakest link by far.
Sure.
Like, these cats actually went on to use their individual verses for this track on different projects for the Kanser albums. And one thing that made me realize is, okay, go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Like, you have been given this opportunity, shown how to do it, just do it better.
Right.
So that's what I took from that. I couldn't really tell you the year. I think it was like 89, maybe like 89, 90.
Like when you first...
It was when they first were putting out their first tape.
Okay.
So it wasn't Network. Actually, no, I take that back. It was Network. It was Kanser put out a first tape. Then they followed it with Network. Now, Network, I ended up on that, but somewhere in between, we ended up working on a project together. And again, I wasn't as good as they were. And then went to go on and do other stuff with them. But when I was writing that first verse, like, that's when I started to get a little more confident in making music.
Okay, so was that the first written verse that you had done?
I
Was
had
it
wrote
all
other
just
stuff
freeze?
I had wrote other stuff that was by far garbage. Like I said, like, I started out, it was all trial and error. And to this day, I'm 45, OG veteran, whatever you want to call me, and I still go into it with that same attitude as when I first went into it. Now, everybody obviously goes into a session with someone saying, I've got to make them look blah, blah, blah. Now, my attitude is different. I go into there, let me just keep up. Like, if I can just stay on the same cadence level and keep people interested, cool. I'm not trying to outshine people. I've never looked at my writing process as a means to outshine someone. What I look at it as is, and I said it to you, and I might even get a T-shirt made up, but like the music, I follow where the music takes me. That's it's as simple as I can keep it. Like, I never go into anything trying too hard, because I feel like if you try too hard, something gets overlooked.
Sure.
So that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, again, to answer your to come back around and answer your question is, yes, I wrote stuff down, but no, it was that time and every time before was not that great.
Okay.
It could have always been better, and I feel like that's the approach I try to take.
Sure. So were you finding beats just off of like these singles that would come out, like on the cassette singles?
Yeah,
or
I would rap over other people's stuff. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like somebody had a beat, cool, flip me a beat. I'll go at it. I'll do my best. But most of the time, it was like I was telling you earlier, as Sonara, it was it. I would listen to stuff, and if it was catchy, I would try, But yeah, majority of the time, freestyling. I was always freestyling. That was always really my approach. Even up into that Cedar Fest when I met Unicus. Yeah. He was like, do you ever write this stuff down? And I was like, pretty much no.
Right. So so you started to rhyme in high school, or was this after high school?
It was like around high school, right after. Like, again, I was rhyming before that. Okay. I just wasn't taking it feverishly serious. Like, it wasn't something that I was like, I'm going to do this and this is going to be my focus. It was just more like playing around, freestyling. But I would say, yeah, like high school and towards the end of high school.
Okay. So you're in the basement, you're a part of this track, all that happens. What was the next step after that kind of first serious recording session that you were a part of?
It was, for me, it was like, okay, what y'all think? And it was them telling me, oh, that's dope, Yeah. And then me listening to it again going, no, it's not. Like, literally, like, just listening, because I had this copy of it, and I'm listening, and I'm like, and again, I think that's something that I take from Zach and Mesh and them telling me, like, you, and everybody else in life, pretty much, but, like, you are your own worst enemy and critic. Like, you could literally talk yourself out of something if you give yourself the opportunity. So, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, it's all right, but no, these guys, I'm looking at these guys, dare I say, the way maybe you looked at me coming into the scene. I'm looking at these guys like they're giants. Like, these guys are amazing. And how is it that, like, I'm trying to figure out where it is I messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, where is my part in this? Like, because that's another thing, like ownership. Like, I was trying to find ownership, and I was just like, I thought I did okay. But
so was this on the Classic 4 track?
Yeah, he was doing stuff, so it was actually awesome to watch. So Mesh was learning from Ant, and then Mesh would go on, to my opinion, go and take it different steps or further steps with the 4-track. But that he was learning from it on how to do it. I believe actually was it a 4-track or an 8-track? I'm not sure, but he was using very similar, if not the same equipment, and then an N-Sonic AR something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I would say that the Kanser network, and from that, like, the quality of sound started to improve vastly.
ASR 10.
ASR 10, thank you.
Okay, cool.
And then it got even better, in my opinion, when we put out the Interlock CD. Yeah. And we'll get into the crew and all that stuff in a sec. But just to jump from the tracks to the CDs, then again, music just as it progressed, music started to progress, and and it just got better. In my opinion.
Okay. So around this time, like, what year are we talking about now?
This time around, this year, it was, like I said, it was 92, like 91 to 93 era. Like, started writing stuff down, started hanging with Unicus as much as possible, learning by watching. I was at a lot of Kanser shows. It would be coffee shops. It would be, speaking of, it would be the cafes, the Riverside Cafe right off. It was literally like about 200 feet from where I was first born and raised up in. And would watch them at all these various shows. And then that's a lot of where I would get a lot of my knowledge, just watching people.
Okay. So outside of Kanser, like, who were some of the other people making noise around this time?
Oh, easily. Slug, Spawn, they were Atmosphere at the time. And then they were doing stuff with Musab Ali and Musab at the time went by Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward in a couple years ahead, there was a hip hop show at what is called the Kaufman Union.
Yeah.
Right. It's adjacent or connected with the Hole.
Yep.
And this building,
U of M kind of
yeah,
stuff.
the
right?
U of M building. And I knew this place at the back of my hand because I used to hang out there when I should have been in school. I was kicking it in this building because they had a bowling alley and an arcade in the basement. And I learned the layout of this building by hanging out. And I would forego the $20 everybody else. I would think it was like $10 or $20 everybody's paying a ticket to get in.
That's a nice ticket, though.
Yeah,
Like,
and it was Redman, Keith Murray,
shit.
Eric Sermon, and I think he went by Little Jamal at the time.
Okay.
So this is a crazy,
That's a dope show.
dope lineup.
Yeah.
But Slug and Spawn would open up his Atmosphere, and Beyond was doing songs with him as well as his own little set. I believe, if I'm correct. I know for sure he did songs with him if he didn't have his own set. And got up in there, snuck 3 other friends up in there. The 4th one got caught because he moved too slow. But that was a great time for me to get my first start of seeing other people other than Kanser.
Okay. So from freestyling to writing rhymes to being in these sessions to seeing these shows, when's the first time that you went on stage and grabbed the mic?
Oh, Lord Jesus. I don't remember my very first time. I just really remember all these other venues and avenues, and I could tell you, like, musically, all the stuff that I've been on is a lot of projects, but I guess for me, the show that sticks out the hardest would be if at some of these venues they'd be like, the mic is open or whatever, and be an open mic, and I spit something. But I mainly, like I said, I have a more clearer picture of hanging out at the bus stop at the mall rapping or being on the back of the bus. I would say, I guess, if I had to say, it would be that the industry. I was trying to freestyle, and this is a nice little story of triumph over everything, but that my first time getting up there, I don't know if it was the beat, I don't know if it was the crowd, but I got booed the very first time.
Okay.
And so this was a weekly event, so I went back. And the next week I went back, and I felt like I was on cloud 72 because, like, I was not only getting love, like, people coming up to me afterwards. I mean, I can vividly remember Carnage coming up to me, giving me props. And this is a dude who, at that time, I really admired and respected. I still do, but I admired and respected him, especially this time, because he was there every Sunday. I would see him during the weekday downtown. And anybody, I tell this to anybody listening, if you're going to hustle any kind of product, always have it available to customers to listen to. This man would have a Walkman, or he'd have a CD player. And he would let people hear it because, you know, everybody's excuse when trying to buy something is, oh, man, if I could just hear how good it is, you know, and then I buy.
Sure, yeah.
So, like, but he was there. Again, I was running with these cats called Concepts. They were there. And that's my first time. Like, I was in this crowd. And like I told you, it was like Shark Tank, like, or Swimming with Sharks.
Yeah.
They wasn't always feeling you.
No, right. And I always try to tell the newer cats nowadays about some of those crowds because I was a teenager, and I was coming in towards the end of the late 90s era, where I was a teenager and cats were still, they didn't give a fuck. They would boo you if you were whack.
Easily.
If you had whack shit. But it made you get that much better. Like, it made you step the bar up to where next time I'm gonna show you what you're booing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if it didn't, or you just went home, you gave up and tore some posters up and quit. You know what I mean? Which is possible too, but
yeah. Yo, it's already been 25 minutes. That's crazy. But we're gonna get into this first track that you brought. But so about what year is this now?
Lakai Junqtion, I would
No,
have to.
I'm talking about the show.
The year that it happened.
You first had.
Oh, this, like I said, this
show.
was
Like 93.
It had to have been before 93, so it was
Okay.
like 90, like 89 to 91 easily. But again, I did so much in so fast a time and didn't pay attention to time.
Sure.
You know, I just was having fun.
Yeah. So I definitely remember you as being a part of the legendary crew, Interlock Crew. Excuse my stutter. I mean to put respect on the name, but
don't
the
sweat it.
Interlock Crew,
Yes, sir.
where a lot of them went on to be Stop House nowadays.
Right.
But what was that formation of the crew like, and how did you get involved with that?
I was at the time. I was hanging out because listen. This is the thing to anybody listening. My affiliation with Oddjobs and CMI is opinionative. And I say that in the sense that I was thinking that I ran with this crew and I was down with them. Then I hear different stories about maybe that I was under the impression that I was in the crew as opposed to how they felt. But needless to say, feelings aside, I was part of this crew or down with these people, and I put out 2 tracks on their project that they came out with on the tape.
Is that the drums
It
joint?
was Case of Mistaken Identity cassette.
Okay.
And so I then I'd like to think that off of my lyricism, energy, and whatever else I was bringing to the counter, that got me a sit down with the crew Interlock.
Okay.
I then would go on to put out a project under Interlock, and that was Tridey and the Midwest All Stars.
So, all right. So the sit down happened from your
At Mesh's crib.
participation
Yep.
with
So
the
we-
Oddjobs.
Yep. So we all met up at Mesh's house, and we would watch. It was funny as hell because it would be on a Sunday. We would watch what is now called Animation Domination. We would watch The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
Fucking plugs. Fox, better give me some money. But we would sit down and we would watch that, and then about right around the time it was starting or a couple minutes into it, we would all start up the meeting, and we would go over key principles of what it is that we're all trying to accomplish. At this time, this crew consisted of, and mentioning of, High Respects, the Sweeps, which involved Carnage, Concentrate, and DJ Excalibur, and quite a few other MCs that were really
Sweeps are
dope.
crazy.
They were sick.
Like robotic
To this
Wu-Tang.
day, I still need some kind of decoder. Like, I literally ask Concentrate from time to time, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Because he's, like, these cats were super nerds. And I love and respect all of them.
Yeah.
And so it was the Sweeps, High Respects. It was myself as a solo artist. Then it was Kanser. And then it was, I'm forgetting, Twisted Linguistics.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So all these cats under this roof. And then we were putting out product under the name Interlock. Mm-hmm. And this was, like I said, right before 93. But we were, like, for me, it was getting real serious around this time as being an MC. Mm-hmm. But we would sit and we would meet up in Mesh's, sit down and go over a plan of attack, basically. And then we would execute. And that's pretty much what it came to.
Okay.
But again, I was introduced to these cats. I knew them through the scene, more or less, but got to really know them courtesy of being part of or running with or hanging out, whatever word you want to use. With CMI and Oddjobs.
Okay. Now, yeah, you were here that one night. You were checking out Zach's book. Is that where you started? Have you heard this kind of static in the past, or was that book kind of the first like revelation?
No, it's something that as far as I'm understanding, he added or reworked, but a majority of the stuff that's already in there is stuff that's already been there.
Okay. So this is stuff that you were
maybe I just tuned it out or didn't care.
Yeah.
So, but when I go back now and I read it, like, my perception of it is different in a sense that, okay, like, actually paying attention to how certain things are worded.
Yeah.
That it makes me think maybe they think that I think a certain way or that I was involved a certain way. Yep. But look, I'll put it flat out like this. And I wasn't by any means carrying this team was carrying me, in a sense that what I provided lyrics as a solo artist for a crew. When it was time to hustle for anybody and everybody's project, it didn't matter if it was negative weather, I'd be out there hustling because I loved and respected everybody I sat across the table from and looked at. Mm-hmm. And that's what it came down to.
Word. Well, we're going to jump into the future really quick for this song. So this song is a song from a group called Lakai Junqtion, which is a Unicus name, correct?
Correct. Well, Unicus devised, I think, half of it, and then I don't know if the other half was thought up by the rest of us. Again, my memory has got Swiss cheese to it, but
Okay.
needless to say, the first part of the name is home. The
Okay.
last part being spelled slightly different is obviously junction.
Word up. And we'll get into the group and everything later on in this podcast. But this is Tri-D, Unicus. Who else is in Lakai Junqtion?
And MeshOne.
MeshOne. And this is who made the beat?
I believe this one, if this is Go To There, was done by Strays.
Go To There, done by Stray. All right, cool. Yeah, so this is Lakai Junqtion. It's Tri-D, it's Unicus, it's MeshOne. This is a song called Go To There. When we come back, we'll talk about your pasta bar battles, your broken home days, and everything in between. So, yeah. This is Organized Grind, the podcast with Oracle Uno. We got Tri-D in the building, episode 47. We'll be right back.
Organized Grind with Oracle Uno. Recorded live at Grapefruit Studios in South Minneapolis.
Up late night watching YouTube vids. The world done changed since we was kids. Everybody got a cellular phone, they making clones. Living in the future, staring at the ozone. It's me and the moan, trying to get in the zone. Haven't stayed up writing this late since I was in my mama's home. Around the time I found Aunt's number. You only 18 once, man, no slumber. We used to hit the basement, flows basic, freestyling. We thought we were on some sick shit. Running up in KFAI's Groove Garden, spitting jargon with Jennifer Downham. She was the host, my favorite quote of hers was fabulous. She called us that and we put her on her first date. Like a first date, spitting on the air. Feeling like Tina Fey, I want to go to there.
Yeah, I want to go to there, travel in my vessel, man. Times was special, if your mind will let you, then you're right on schedule. Everything's casual, yeah. I want to go to there, travel in my vessel, man. Times was special, if your mind will let you, then you're right on schedule. Everything's casual. Base of operations, location, Phillips neighborhood. Caper spray in the pavement to relay all the places I stood. Flavor raining heavy in the halls of South High. 5 minutes in between classes when these ciphers would ignite. Soon after the next chapter, introduced to you and I. Affiliations, an older brother knew was at my side. Only few who knew the vibe. We stuck close so we survived. Fast forward the open corridor, the streets of 25, 23, 14th Avenue. Having the status wasn't automatic. Through the maddest parties, invited the baddest crews. A steady solid means for us to supplement the rent. Out of this came in a lock, bon appetit, and on it went. Sense the fertile soil, excavating the foundation bricks we laid in place to this day. The basis for inspiration. Since those days began, our friends and fans equally enlisted. We breathe life into that niche when none had previously existed. Yeah, I want to go to there, travel in my vessel, man. Times was special, if your mind will let you, then you're right on schedule. Everything's casual, yeah. I want to go to there, travel in my vessel, man. Times was special, if your mind will let you, then you're right on schedule. Everything's casual.
Dude,
The
I hated
90s
the
were
fact that I had to go through the bathroom to get down to the basement because that's where the kegs were
I used to
kept.
love going to them parties.
Fabulous Kanser.
32 ounce
Walking into
pink
parties, man,
lemonades
give
and
me
little
dab,
Tijuanas.
Dude,
Little
boot
teas.
camp click show.
$5 cups for a keg.
That was dope.
I'm feeling that right there.
I got you open.
I ran into Nikki while quickly hopping the bus to go bust. Verses at J. Heinrichs. Rewind the 96-seater fest, mess them fresh. Cancerous kids. Handle that busyness. Bone App and LPB are hip-hop highlights if asking me. Red Sea, 15 minutes of fame, just a shame. Yo, put that little girl in a cage. Remember Mesh's crib, Sans kids? Before interlock meetings, we'd watch The Simpsons. Nataro brother, big mother sucker, Mac Flash Gats. No one wanted any ruckus. Foul mouth chucklehead trying to get out of debt. What the fuck is the internet? Met many a friend, set a few trends. Exit how I entered when I get to the end. Exit how I entered when I get to the end. When I get to the end.
Yeah, I want to go to there, travel in my vessel, man. Times was special, if your mind will let you, then you're right on schedule. Everything's casual, yeah. I want to go to there, travel in my vessel, man. Times was special, if your mind will let you, then you're right on schedule. Everything's casual.
Yes, y'all. This is Organized Grind, the podcast, episode 47. We're kicking it with Tri-D. I guess we didn't even need to do this podcast because all the history is in that last verse right there, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to say. Actually, as a disclaimer, I'm going to say this. I don't remember so many years and what time, what started when, who, how, where, but it's the fact that it is. That's all I can get.
Right. So in that verse, you had mentioned the LPB. Now, was the Luring Pasta Bar, was that during your Interlock days, or was this?
I think that
I feel like it was
if it wasn't during that time, it was definitely at the tail end, so very close.
Okay.
So to it, yeah.
So this was around this time. This was pre 8 Mile. 8 Mile had not come out yet.
From my understanding, no.
And the Pasta Bar was fucking cracking.
It was nonstop popping.
I remember. I was just a young teenager, and like I had, it's gonna sound weird as fuck now, but like someone had to sneak me in their like jacket in order to like get me in, because there was no way I was getting in. And like that night, I saw anyone in the Twin Cities legendary scene that you could think of were battling each other. I'm talking Rhyme Sayers cats. I'm talking Interlock cats. Everybody, street cats. And I was just blown away. Like, what the fuck?
Anybody and everybody could get it. There was no hands held. There was no limits. Like, you could be in the same crew and catch it. I think there, if I can recall, and please, Ernie or Jeffrey or even Dispute, if you hear this, correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe Ernie and Jeff battled one time.
Wow.
Like I said, you could get it. Anybody could get it. Like it was wild.
All right. So let's talk about Luring Pasta Bar, how you started to get there, where the battle came from, like what was the beginning of this legendary battlegrounds? I
want to say that this took place so a couple months, if not a year or so before I lived with Zach. Then it was, at the time, it was all about Bon Appetit when we were
that's right.
running around town. Headspin kind of fell through because I'm just going to go out and say it in my personal opinion, neighborhood gentrification. People didn't want hip-hop in the neighborhood. They felt it was putting a dark light. They said people were vandalizing the House of Hanson.
Right.
This, that, and the third. So, flying forward or moving ahead, then Luring Pasta Bar springs up, and I know Zach was hosting, and Snakebird Adam Garcia was one of the cats doing the show, as well as a Bijit. And so I would use my, if you could call it celebrity status, whatever, running around town supporting hip hop. Every once in a while I'd get in free. Actually, I'll just go out and say about 90% of the time I got in free. Would have to buy my own food. You know, at the time I was old enough to drink, so I'd buy my own drinks. We would, once in a blue moon, I'd slide Cynical with me or somebody else, but at the time they weren't 21.
Right.
But my understanding was it was 18 up, they had a certain capacity, then 21 and up, a certain capacity. Once it sold out, it was sold out. You couldn't get in. Like, there'd be lines of people just chilling because it was such nice weather outside. People would just be chilling trying to get in if somebody left.
Right.
But it literally would be nonstop packed. So they would have to, I know, from a certain time to a certain time, they would have to serve food, so tables would have to stay in place. Then I believe at 8 or 9, when this thing was jumping off, they would take all the tables away.
Yeah.
And it would become a dance floor. But I'm talking like 400 to 600 people on the floor just watching these battles take place on what seemed like Fisher-Price sound systems. Because I'm sorry, while they probably had great sound, it was either the sound guy or the equipment that just couldn't get it right. Couldn't get it tight. Like, it just was not good.
Yeah, man.
But it was always a wonderful time. Always great to see people.
Yeah. Can you recollect some of the battles that you had seen?
Oh, easily. There was a couple of times when Sun Ra went up against Shansky.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. There was a couple of times when watched Minnesota. I think he goes by a different name now, but Fats D was up there. He won a couple times, but it was always, and again, even though I lost to him so many times, I have a mutual respect for the fact that he was, in my personal opinion, he went on to battle even further in the lead. But Vesh would be something to watch.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, he would just be awesome to watch.
He's a stand-up comic now.
Yeah, and another thing, and he could attest to this, or agree to it if he wants, but there would be a lot of people that would show up to see him.
Mm-hmm.
So they would go off of audience reaction. Now, mind you, if you win because you're good, you're good. Like, you got to give a man respect. If he earns it, you should give it.
Yeah.
And he definitely earned my respect. And so I would like to watch him. He would always be fun to watch. Of course, the competitive side of my brain would be like, fuck him. You know, I wish it was me up there.
Right.
But again, it's the simple fact that he earned his ability to be there.
Yeah.
And that was another nice thing. If you won a round, you go on to the next round. But another person to watch that would be amazing is, let's give it up for Ice Rod.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ice Rod was a nut job.
I was just talking to somebody about Ice Rod, about
he
the
made
old
crazy
game night days.
Acceptable, in my personal opinion. There was, I could take you back to a show, I think a few months or a year or two after the Pasta Bar. He's in the 7th Street entry doing something for Toki Wright and his crew at the time that he was running with, and when he was part of Core. And it was an all ages show. And this fool comes out in like a Borat underoos. Like, this is a dude who's at an all ages show acting a fool.
Yo, if like the internet was around back then, he easily could have been viral.
Oh, he would have been a YouTube sensation.
Yeah.
And again, if you're hearing me now, bro, you should go back and find some video, load it up. You'd probably still end up TikTok's greatest. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude was amazing.
Yeah.
He was off the chain.
Yeah, man.
Like, he had, in my personal opinion, if people are listening,
he was wild.
Who know me and the crews I ran with, he was also very reminiscent to Shortcut.
Right.
Like, Shortcut. There is not any way in my shape, form, or fashion I would call him crazy. He was a genuine renaissance man in the fact that what's looked at as crazy, but there's so much genius in what these two people did, in my opinion. Like, and it's not just shock factor. Like, because you could shock somebody and they still be like, oh, but that's scary, but that's crazy cool.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? No, there was like levels to these people. Like, the way I'm sure Chopin or Mozart would vibe to whatever to before they would perform. Because, again, we don't know what it is back then as opposed to now. We obviously can see people's routines or methods to their madness.
Right.
These guys had a method that you didn't see coming until it was right in your face, but it was, you couldn't look away.
Yeah.
You just couldn't.
Right.
Because you might miss something.
Right. So back to the Pasta Bar. And yo, if Ice Rod is listening somehow, some way, man, come on the Organized Grind podcast. Because I watched you when I was a teenager and was just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, I would.
And
I would love to know what he's doing now, if nothing else.
Yeah. But so back to the Pasta Bar. You won how many times?
I believe I won twice. Yep.
2-time champion, if I'm not mistaken.
2-time champion.
So
to Vesh is like 15 or something, but still.
All right, so describe.
I had to beat him once to win. So
okay. So talk about the very first time you ever won and what that night was like for you.
It was insane. It was, in my personal, I believe it went to there was, if I can remember right, there was 2 or there was 3 rounds, I believe. Or it was 2. I can't remember, but I know because of the audience being so split, we had to do another round. I remember that part. I don't remember everything in regards to it. What was dope though is at some point there was a CD later down the line released. Now, it didn't have the battle that I won against him,
right?
But it had, I believe, the following battle after that, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was another championship where I made it to the finals. And it was the championship round, and he got me. But the night that I won.
Yep. The first time,
The very first time I won.
Yep.
I just remember, like, going off of crowd reaction and then people running up to me afterwards and giving me props, respect, whatever.
Sure. So who were the people that you had to beat in order to...
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
I know.
Okay.
I do know, I believe that same night Ice Rod was there. I don't think I went against Ice Rod, though.
Okay.
I went against, like, some no-name cast or some low-level cast, whatever.
Yeah.
Casts that were just coming through. I don't want to take anything away from anybody, though. Like, people, you got to understand, to get up on that stage and do any kind of battle against somebody in that such a short amount of time in front of that huge-ass crowd, every time I got on that stage, I was nervous. I was
had
not
no idea
nervous if I
who-
lose. I
who
was
you were gonna
nervous. I was
face.
just nervous to grab the mic and try to compete with these kids. So I remember winning. I remember the afterwards because I was hanging out with a bunch of people when we went and we had some drinks and we were chilling.
Yeah.
And then just, again, it didn't sink in until the next day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cutting in and out the headphones.
Yeah.
Check. And then fast forward, the next time I won was, again, I don't believe the next time I won was against Mesh. No, I'm sorry, not Mesh, Vesh. So edit that too. Against Vesh. And so when battling him, we didn't go to the final round against each other.
Right.
But this place is bananas. Like the DJ at the time's Aaron Money.
Yeah.
He's
Shout out
holding it
Aaron
down.
Money.
Yeah, he was playing all the bangers, and it felt so much more easier the second time around. You know, trying to captivate the crowd,
Right.
While freestyling, because that's another thing. I never wrote any of these battles down.
Right. Oh no,
I
because that
always
wasn't
was-
the era.
Yeah,
it was
no.
it was off the top,
Off
or
the
at
top.
least it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and for me it was. I can't speak for everybody else. I can just say that for me, freestyling, some of it was dope, some of it was but hit or miss, it was always freestyle. And then going off the crowd, I'll tell you, as a person who's not, to this day, not so much as a battle rapper as just an MC, but when I was doing it, that crowd, like, that's a whole different type of feeling.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Like
I was gonna say, so what did it feel like in the finals? Like you're up there and you're getting the reaction.
I got Zach in my back corner, you know, because I was running with Interlock for so long or whatever. And then he was in the background. He would hype me up.
Okay.
He would get me focused. Because again, I'm freestyling. I'm thinking of, personally, it's a Monday night. I'm thinking like, did I just miss the best episode of Heroes or something? Like I'm here with all these people doing this when I could be doing something else.
Uh-huh.
And so my brain would always kind of veer or go elsewhere. And so he would get me back on focus.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Like he'd be there, he'd get me on focus. If Mesh was there, Mesh would get me, or Unicus, or sometimes even Eyedea. Like Eyedea would be there.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even try to get me focused for the battle so much as he would approach me, or even Cynical they would all approach me and explain to me how I got it. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
you can handle this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just stay focused, drop these punches, whatever, and then move around. And so that's what I would do. I mean, other than that Vesh battle, I don't feel like I ever threw major blows with anybody in a rap battle. I always felt like I was jabbing until they were out of steam. So
Okay. So yeah, man. Congratulations on the championships. I mean,
sure.
that is one of the most prestigious things that you can say, in my opinion, as far as coming from here.
right.
If you won a Loring Pasta Bar
It
battle,
got around the neighborhood.
that was it.
Cats heard about it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like if they weren't there, they heard about it.
Yep. So you brought up Eyedea would be out there, and from my understanding, you and Cynical were pretty close with him and his mom, right?
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Eyedea?
I wouldn't even know where to start other than his presence.
When did you first meet him?
When I first met him,
Yeah.
he was a wild, like you, about 14, 15. He was a wild child running around the basement of it was called The Hole, and also inside of Kaufman Union.
Yeah.
They had what is called the Hip Hop Olympics.
That's right.
This story is very classic to me because that same night, Unicus Harry, his daughter was born, Felicia. Felicia was
Wow.
brought into the universe, yeah.
On the
And
night of the Hip Hop Olympics.
yeah.
Holy shit, I never knew that.
I rode through that piece with a homie who does graph named Viz, and then another dude named Berserk.
Shout out Viz, man.
Shout out my boy Viz.
He's still out here.
He's still out here doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's a grown man handling
Yeah.
his, and definitely putting it down and still holding it down for the graph scene. And so, rode with him and Berserk, and we went there. And Berserk is this tall, best I can say, tall, light-skinned brother. He would have to have been 6, close to 7 feet, in my personal opinion. I'm 6'1", and he was definitely taller than me. So somewhere between 6'5" and 6'9".
Yeah.
And so he got real faded before the spot, and then we went in there, and he had a backpack full of tapes.
Okay.
This kind of brought an end to the battle that night because he's faded, rushes the stage during this battle, to which I believe, if I'm not, I could be miscorrect, and Zach could always correct this, but shout outs to him listening, but he rushed the stage while the battle was about to happen between Zach and Eyedea.
Oh, shit.
I believe so. And so the whole venue got shut down because he rushed the stage, had to be removed, but he thought somebody went up in his backpack and stole his tapes, which they probably did because he wasn't watching his stuff. Well, same night, like I said, I didn't meet him that first time, but I seen him and noticed right away. Like if you ever have met him, you would notice him, and his talent was so visible. Then I would go on to watch him do stuff with rhyme sayers and him and abilities in the entry as well as the main room, and meet his mother later. But that my interactions with him were always peaceful, and learning from him. Like I would learn so many different things. Another person, shout outs to Rachel, who used to sit at the table with us, but one time we were at the pasta bar, and he played this game called 21 Questions. And so that and Animal, Mineral, Vegetable. And so we would play this game, and it would, in my personal opinion, it would sharpen your senses and your mind to questions that you wouldn't always see.
Yeah.
But here's, to finish on him, the best part about meeting him was if he asked how you were doing or what was going on with him, he seriously wanted to know.
Right.
He was a person who would show interest, keep interest, all the way until the conversation that you were having was finished. If somebody interrupted it, it would literally have to be business. Otherwise, he would give you his full attention.
Right.
So that's the best way I can explain him.
It's true, man. Yeah. One of the interactions that I had with him, he lived really close to my school, and he was walking his dogs, and I remember being like 12, 13 at the time, and seeing him walk his dogs, and I was like, yo, that's Eyedea. And I like ran from school. I was like, peace out, class. Like, I'm about to say what's up to Eyedea.
Yeah.
And he had his dog, and like she was pretty big, big dog there. But I'll never forget, like, he took the time to stand in the sidewalk, talk to me about recording gear for a good half an hour. He was working on the ENA project at the time. He was about halfway through, and he was just like, yo, this might be the best project I've ever done, and blah, blah, blah. And just the fact, and like, his dog is like obviously bored. Like,
right.
Yo, like, can we get the fuck home?
Right,
like,
right.
I'm done with this walk
Right.
now.
Yeah.
But like, he was still nice enough to like chop it up with me, a
Most def.
pre-teenager just geeked about hip-hop and shit.
I used to date a female that worked she worked off of Victoria and Grand. And also had a homegirl, I want to say, I hope I'm not saying her name wrong. I know she dated one of the dailies, but Janessa.
Okay.
She delivered for Green Mill. And this is around the time I would kick it with CMI and Oddjobs. But he slid me over to where I believe Abilities and his brother lived, which was like a couple buildings down and across the street from this Green Mill on Grand. And played me a whole bunch of stuff that he was working on at the time, as well as I got to watch like Abilities practice.
Yeah.
Like, it was always a fun time just hanging out. Like, sometimes not even saying shit, just watching, just chilling and watching these at that time. Like, these, I wouldn't even say novices, because I feel like they were so in touch and enriched in hip hop at the time, because I think their first album was already out. I think they were working on their next project, or it just came out. But just to watch Abilities practice, I'm sitting here with my jaw on the ground, and like, he gets to do this like every day. Like, he's hanging out with Big Bad like every day, just chopping it.
Right.
And I'm sitting here going, God damn.
Yeah, man. I don't know when we'll ever see another dynamic duo like that, like duo champions in their own fields coming together at such a young age. Like, that was the other thing. Like, they were champions at a teenage age.
Right.
Like, it's just crazy. But rest in peace to Eyedea, man. Sure. It's definitely miss his presence. But So, all right. So the pasta bar battles. What was the transition from Interlock Crew into what I came to know as Broken Home?
So what happened was me and JX, who was a producer and an MC, part of Broken Home, JX Escobar, we were living at the time southeast Minneapolis. We were right about 2-3 blocks from that McDonald's and that Super America.
How did you and him run into each other?
So I was living with him because I believe at the time we were living there for a little bit. I forgot how that even happened. I think Golden moved out.
Okay.
So I moved in.
Oh, okay.
Because I was in between spots looking for a place.
So that was when they both moved up here?
Yeah. They lived over northeast for a minute. They actually lived real close. They lived on that Van Buren where I stayed.
Oh, yeah.
They literally were the next thing over.
That's right.
I'm at 4026, so I believe they're at 4032 at the time.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's wild.
Yeah. So flashback before fast forwarding. We were staying over there. Then when that fell through, because the dude we were renting with, it was 3 people in this spot, and we did a whole project together, and then we did the $5 baller, and we did it, and we were like, well, let's come up with a name for the thing or whatever. So we came up with Broken Home, I believe with him, me, Cynical at the time, and then Illuminous 3.
Illuminous 3, right.
And then shout out real quick, if anybody knows how to get a hold of Boney Lindbergh.
Right,
I really
shout out
would love
Boney,
his number.
dog. He had some of the best shit.
Man, again, a genius, not by looking at, but by listening and watching, most definitely.
Yes.
And so we formed then, but we were living at John Horn III's house.
Okay.
And
he was like the manager president kind of Broken Home, like the executive type.
He tried to. I think Jay might have wrote him a verse. He tried to rap. I'm no disrespect, but it wasn't that hot.
I mean,
it wasn't horrible, but
I know John, and I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm probably not looking for
not the next project
for the John verse
for sure. And so, but moving forward, like from that, we formed it up, and it lasted for, I want to say about a year, maybe a little after. But in my personal opinion, it was able to strengthen me and Cynical. We were already tight. So by far.
So you're saying that Broken Home only lasted about a year?
About a year or two. That I was messing with them. Again.
Okay.
We put out a project. We put out a couple projects, but it was under a year and a half. And then Ill 3 ended up doing their separate stuff. Then I was still kind of messing with Sin, just trying to get her to do a few more tracks with me. I wasn't. Sure. I didn't feel it, and to this day, even if she hears,
she was dope.
I'm like, dude, I feel like we still got some stuff we need to finish or do some more of. But
let me produce that,
man. I'll be all for it.
Yeah, I'm for it too.
What
up, Cynical?
Right. And then so Sinister and I and all them formed that, and then they went on to go to New York for something. I didn't end up going because I don't think my cheddar was correct. Like I couldn't leave the town anyway.
Yeah.
And then we were living at John's, and then Jay had a second child. I don't know.
Ella.
Bella.
Ella.
Is it Ella? Sorry, I thought it was Bella.
That's all good.
But he had his daughter.
Okay.
Then he moved out of John's. Then I believe I moved out shortly after.
Okay.
Because I met Jennifer, who's the mother of my 2 daughters, and so then that was the gist of Broken Home. But if anybody's interested in listening, it basically just went Crew Hours with Siddiqui, then Concepts, then Oddjobs CMI / Interlock, then Broken Home, then my own stuff. But
right,
I don't care what anybody say. If they want to fight me over it, I'm ready to knuckle up. But I'm always and will be a part of the namesake Interlock. I don't care if it's a lawsuit issue. I'll just say enter. But I'm always going to see myself as an Interlock OG representative.
I'm always going to see that too. I've always considered you a big part of that crew.
Yeah.
Because of your own contributions.
Right. Exactly.
You had your own
I feel
lane.
like I grinded. Yep.
You had your own thing going on.
Hard enough.
Broken Home hit me up when I was around 14 years old, and then that's when I started coming around the Broken Home Studios. I first met Jay on the East Side, and that basement studio and all that. But you had,
I'm so sorry.
No,
I need to actually clarify.
Yeah.
After Broken Home, Lakai Junqtion.
That's right.
Then
That's right.
presently, Lakai Junqtion.
Right. All right. So let's stay on Broken Home just for a quick second, because you did release a project there, right?
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about your musical history is that you always had these kind of all-star projects.
I always wanted to give people an opportunity. I didn't always want to be about myself.
Okay.
So that's something that I've always took pride in. Like I cherish and respect a collaboration more than I do a solo.
Word up. So what are some of your favorite collaborations that you've ever done? Because you have a ton of them. You have a ton of them.
I do. I really do. I would say on my first joint, I really liked the track that I did with Jay and Golden off of Midwest All Stars. Nice. I also liked the track I did with Unicus. It stands out to me. There's quite a few other ones, but I also, on the Midwest All Stars, one of my favorite joints is it's a bonus track. And it's called KRG. I'm not going to give anybody more information than that.
Okay.
But listen to it. And then last and not least, because of reciprocation of putting me on and also utilizing my vocals, but the Unknown Prophets.
Oh, shit.
Most definitely, hands down. Then sliding to the second album, one of the ones that sticks out is obviously Microphone Masters with me and Bilal Latif, aka Illusion.
Yeah,
as well
that's a great one.
As well as the Lights Camera Action with me and Caesar, and the Broken Home track where I believe it was the As You Bounce.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, again, a lot of great people like Mystery from Out of Bounds meets Carnage meets me, and it's a lot of good people that I've worked with.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many to name, and so forgive me if I don't get to all of them, but those are some of the key ones that stick out to me.
Word up.
But on the Dimensional Experience, last and definitely noticeably never least is the South Side track. So
okay,
because I was born here.
Word up. Well, hey man, we're gonna get into this last commercial break, and then we'll wrap it up with kind of the Lakai Junqtion saga and where you're at now and where you're heading.
Okay.
So man, this is episode 47, Organized Grind, the podcast with Oracle Uno. We got Try D in the building.
Yep.
We'll be right what's back. Up, world? This is Oracle Uno on the check-in. Are you looking for a gift idea for a loved one or maybe yourself? Why don't you let me paint you a custom painted canvas, 12-inch vinyl, or skateboard deck? All you have to do is give me the names and the colors of your choice, and I'll have it done, painted, and shipped within a week of your order. For canvases, I start at 11 by 14 inches and up, 12-inch vinyl records, just like the records that you would put on a turntable and listen to. They are records from my personal collection that I just don't want no more, so I'm turning them into art. And then skateboard decks, I offer just the deck or a fully built skateboard option. And once again, that's free shipping in the US. If you're interested, check out graffrootsmedia.com. That is GRAFF as in fresh, ROOTSMEDIA.com. Graffrootsmedia.com. Thank you for listening to Organized Grind, the podcast, and your continued support. Peace and love. Yes, y'all. This is Organized Grind, the podcast with Oracle Uno, episode 47. We got Try D in the building.
Yes, I am.
Hey, man, thank you so much for coming through tonight to do this, man.
It's an honor and a privilege, my friend.
Yeah, man, it's so nice to get some history in your own words, and you've been such a big part of this scene. And so just to have you here with your experiences and everything like that is super awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you again.
But yeah, man, so we basically talked about the whole journey up into Loring Possibar, Interlock Crew.
Right.
So how did Lakai Junqtion come to be?
So just real quick, I just want to recap so everybody who's just now tuning in, they should have already been, but it went Tri-D was messing with a kid named Siddiqui. Before Tri-D was actually a name, it was Ace before that.
Ace.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll do a follow-up show next time because that's a lot of extra information.
Sure, man.
Then it went Concepts, where I met Carnage and a lot of other people like Precise, Vibes, Mental Madness, Douglas Maccabee, Kai Swivel, and as well as Q Dangerous, who I featured on an album, who also had Shortcut and a bunch of other cats. Then went from there, I went to CMI Oddjobs / Interlock. Then I went to Broken Home Entertainment. And then I moved around on my own for a little bit and then joined up with my best friend, Cohort Capitan. Best word I can use is Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Unicus Harry, and Mesh and Stray, and we formed Lakai Junqtion.
Okay.
Due to situations and whatnot, life situations more or less, it just became a situation where it was me, Mesh, Unicus, and then Strays, and then it went minus Mesh. And then it's just kind of been because I'm always going to want to do music, period, hands down. And so Lakai Junqtion, in my personal opinion, is still there and present. We just have to find time because, when you get to a certain age, it's not harder to meet up with people and do stuff. But when I'm working 50 hours a week, he's got his life and everybody else is doing stuff. And I know for a fact Strays is like teaching and doing stuff. So it just becomes harder to work. But in my opinion, that's where Lakai is at. Lakai got formed off of me and Unicus wanting to continue to make music because we respect and love this art form as hip hop. And so, and he's got other crews and other pies that he juggles as well as doing solo stuff. So, but that's where my heart and head has been at. Like, for me, it's been working a lot, appreciating and finding new music and stuff that I've never really listened to, or venues and areas I've never checked out before. Like, say, for instance, Denzel Curry.
Yeah.
Shout out to that cat who's, I'm listening to his stuff courtesy of my sister. Speaking of rewind really fast, one of the first tapes I ever had was from my sister. Was MC Light's Light as a Rock. And on the other side was Third Base, the Cactus album. Like the first one, not the Gas Face one. It was the knock, 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 come in. Like, so that was like a big influence. My sister helped me to find music and would always bring things to me. One of my very first tapes ever was Digital Underground Sex Packets.
Sex Packets.
This is back when Calhoun Square, I believe, had a Sam Goody or some kind of Sam Goody in there where Jimmy John's is now. So I went in there and I got the tape, and you got Shock G on the cover holding this packet in his hand, and when you flipped it open, like, my mother never knew this, and she probably would have snatched the shit if she had saw it. But all these groupies were in the back cover, or females. I want to clarify, but women that were topless, and so I was blown away. This is obviously not my first time seeing somebody topless. I'm getting off track here, but to come back really fast, I thought I was older than 11, like 10 going on 11 when Purple Rain came out. Shout out to Prince. But I had a friend, Greg, and Greg, his mother took us into Skyway Theater. Got us in there, and I saw this movie.
Wow.
So, but to come back, all the way back.
Right.
Lakai Junqtion, like I said, is a crew that, in my personal opinion, is still present. It's just the music is there. We actually have stuff that we haven't finished. So I'm trying to finish that up.
So there's still some new Lakai Junqtion about to come out.
There's still stuff there.
So that crew formed what, like 2012, 2013? I want to say it's like 2012.
I want to say that sounds about right. Yeah. So it's definitely like sometime between 2010 2012. We've always been homies, like kicking music ideas to each other, but I believe that's when it got formulated. And at the time, I was living over on I think it's 6th and Mariah. No, No, 3rd and Mariah.
Okay.
So in St. Paul, and,
Yeah.
and so I would slide over to Strays via Unicus would come get me. We'd hit up Strays, or Mesh would come swoop me. But we've always been working on stuff, and there's always stuff present. It's just always hard to get stuff done.
Yeah. You know, we were talking at Sonora about a favorite pastime of ours called DU Nation. I just wanted to include some DU Nation talk in here before we get out of here.
They definitely better give you some money for this one.
Hey, man. Well, I mean...
No, I know. It's not even,
right.
present, but...
But talk about some DU Nation, man. What were those days like?
It was wild, because this is like... Okay, let me just backtrack to tell you that people communicated... Like, when I first got into hip-hop, was pages on the hip. And people use this thing called a payphone.
Right.
Like, those don't pretty much exist except for at airports, I believe.
Yeah.
There's a couple in the mall, maybe. But the craziest thing was there was this website, and people would gather, and they would talk about all the current events going on.
That's right.
And I owe a huge thing of gratitude. I also have a huge thing of discontent for some of the admins, but that's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
But needless to say, if it's not for this hip hop site, I went to met what would become my wife, then ex-wife, now a wonderful woman named Jennifer Chavez, who's raising my children.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, I have an active fatherhood. Like, I'm part of my kids' lives. So don't get it twisted.
The tri-D, the D stands for daddy.
Yes, it's definitely inherited into daddy. Before it used to be tri-dimensional. So to give people a quick history on my name, it was tri with a Y because my last name is Direwolf. Then later it would become D-Wolf, but the D has always been dominant for my name. So if people wanted to try me, well, you know, I guess even though I'm not huge on battle rap, I like watching it more than partaking it, because I will tell you right now, my personal belief is there's too much negativity, like in a battle. Now, again, to make up battle raps on the spot, freestyling, that's dope. I even dig some of this King of the Dot stuff that you see in these URL leagues.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to take anything
whole
away
new
from them.
game nowadays.
That's a whole new game that I was never a part of. And I probably would have never been able to run with those kind of animals.
It's like theatrics.
It's super.
It's so much more. It's like sports entertainment for hip hop.
It is. It really is. And so, but my name has always carried a battle premise.
Right.
And so, again, instead of being TRI and then dimensional, we all know how that goes. But then I would spell it with a Y / and then a D. Now I've inherited the daddy because obviously I have 2 children. And so that's where the daddy part came up.
Right. And I can definitely vouch, man. You, as far as one of the fathers that I've been around, been very inspirational. You have always been there for your kids.
Thank you.
And your kids, when they came around, I could tell that they took over the main focus of your life,
yes.
which is an amazing thing.
And thank you.
And, so
and I wouldn't have changed anything. Like, I took a step back from music to be involved with them. Like, it was always, in my personal opinion, my main focus was always them.
Right.
Always.
That's your best project.
Exactly.
Are your kids, you know what I'm saying? Your best
you're definitely
albums.
right. My best albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I've always held you in a very high regard for your fatherhood and holding it down for them.
Thank you very much.
For sure. But DU Nation, man, I mean, it was so much fun.
It was something else, man.
We were talking about, and like you with your marriage, I mean, the relationships were popping off of DU Nation.
There was so much craziness. There was at one point. There's actually a story while we were chilling. I was about to tell you, but I'll tell you now. So you were talking about how Ali. Egypto Knuckles used to have people over at the shawarma sheesh spot.
Yep.
So the story goes something like this. There's this dude on there named Tangeray Loke.
That's right.
And so Tangeray Loke and I actually had a back and forth. I would say I was talking shit.
Yeah.
Because, again, I was feeling myself. And then I met this 6 foot something.
Right.
Almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Debo looking sucker.
Right.
And I definitely, I'll say it on microphone, I backpedaled. Like, I was talking mad shit until I met this man.
Yeah, man.
And I have grown to not only respect his music, but respect him as an individual. I've actually seen him on several occasions when I was going to different venues. He's a bouncer.
Okay.
I believe at one point, if he's still not, he was bouncing at what was known as the Nomad, and now it's called something else. And just for the
word.
record, I will always think of it as the Nomad.
Same.
Like, you
I
could
still
change,
call it the Nomad.
You could change the name all you want. I'm still gonna call it that.
Yeah.
And I've seen him, and I always make sure I show him respect. And the lesson in this is, don't write a check your mouth can't cash.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people out there who would gladly give you a zero balance on your jaw.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's really funny that you bring him up. I was a teenager on that site. I was like 14, 15 when DU Nation was popping. And up until it closed, and I was like 18, 19. But I remember being 15 years old, and two main people stick out to me, and it's Tangeray Loke, who he like hit me up, and he gave me a call. And we talked for about 2 hours on the phone, which led to him sending me a beat. And I did something on that beat, and I don't know if he was feeling it or not, because it never went nowhere else outside of what I sent him back.
Too.
But that was super cool that he was like, hey, man, I'm going to send you a beat. And the shit was hot. And then Snipe.
Oh.
MN Snipe.
That boy was all over the place.
That dude.
He was like me, but trap music meets crack music. Like
he was trap before trap.
Yeah, he was trap before trap, but
doing
was
shit
wild.
with like German MCs and shit.
What was wild about that kid is he literally, it was the type of individual, imagine meeting somebody who's tall, like not too tall, but skinny on like 15 Red Bulls. Like, I'm not joking. Like, he would be a mile a minute talking.
Right.
And what was crazy though is, like you said, though, that definitely, that name
that
sticks
dude,
out.
So I was only like 15, and that dude called me once from a number, and I didn't know how he got my number, but I like picked it up, and I was like, hello, and he's like, hello. I'm like, who is this? He's like, yo, man, it's Snipe. And I was like, what? And this dude, once again, another 2-hour conversation on the phone with someone I've never met in person, and he was just like telling me about how hard life was and just like everything else, and I'm just sitting there like, I have no therapy skills. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a teenager that's interested in hip hop.
Exactly.
But like, this dude is just like, yo, like, I just need to talk to somebody about my life and all this shit. And
that easily happens.
We became cool, and then it was really cool to see him actually start to do shows, because his name preceded him. So, like, you would only see Snipe online and shit. You'd see his albums and shit. But then when he actually stepped on stage with his Timberwolves jersey and shit, people gave him love. He barely
fit in. Like, that thing was huger than him.
Yo, he was like 20 years ahead of his time.
He was.
Back then.
Yeah,
and
I mean, ridiculously, like how people grind and hustle now.
Yeah.
He was doing that.
And that sound.
10, 12 years before people were doing that. Like, he was like literally epitomized, like, or it's the word I'm looking for.
He was like our Lil White.
He was that, but he was like what is the people that would sell merch out of their trunk. Like, he made, like, he took that blueprint and ran with it so hard that you really, I mean, even though he wasn't the greatest lyricist, you couldn't say no. Right. Like, he had a grind that I, to this day, admire and respect.
Yeah, man. And I have no idea where he's been.
Right.
I haven't
if
seen
he's rapping,
his name
what
or
he's
seen his
contributing,
face in
but
years. I hope he's still alive.
Yeah, I hope
I hope
too.
he's out here. So that's another one. Yo, if a Snipe is listening somehow, some way, like,
let us know. What's
hit me
going
up,
down.
man. Come on the podcast, man. What the hell are you doing? But I wouldn't be surprised if he's living in like Germany or like Denmark or something at this point, doing some trap.
Yeah.
Millionaire, probably.
Man.
Who knows?
Exactly, though.
But yeah, man, those were the days. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on some DU Nation, man,
Oh,
because
man,
it's such a historical time. It was like right when the internet started to get accessible to everybody,
and everything was like nothing was off limits. Like,
nothing.
Everything was a go.
The cool thing too was, like shows would pop off, and then you could go on DU right after the show, and everyone's still all fucked up, like posting about the show and shit.
How did we meet? Like, there'd be people
morning.
that would be so tossed they didn't even remember meeting the other person. So yeah, no, there was a lot of people that I'm thankful from that site that I've been able to connect and link with.
That's crazy, man. It's just so crazy how much that spurred. So yeah, shout out to DU Nation, good times, bad times. Right. Shout out to those that made it possible. But yeah, man, it's looking like we're wrapping up the podcast here a little bit. What you got going on right now?
Right now, just again working full time. Couple small things here and there, like I freestyle, throw it on the Facebook page from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to finish up some things with Unicus, and then I'm gonna I got some beats from you. Then I'm gonna start working on something. But
That's right.
To let everybody know in regards to my music, like I don't think I'll ever be done with it, but I think the beats that I've gotten from you and some of the things that I'm gonna do is gonna be my exit.
Okay.
So I'm not, again, never ever gonna be truly done with it. But as far as solo or projects, like I always be open to work with others who want to do good music and want to put out stuff. Like I'm all for it. Like I'll always be open arms for it.
Yeah.
But I think the name of this is gonna be something in regards to like encore or curtain call.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Okay. So that means I really got to make sure to put some real heat behind you then for this.
You know, I think you always do that. Man.
Word. Well, any last words before we get into this track here?
I just want to say, man, that this cut here coming up is another Lakai Junqtion, and you know, I think you'll love and appreciate it, as well as to my children, Corey and Gray. I love you. I always have. I always will. You, the dire wolves that I couldn't ask for anything better.
Word, man.
So.
Well, hey, thank you again for coming on the podcast tonight. It's an honor to have you. Me and you go way back. I'm super happy to have you as a friend. You know, we get to go see some films together. We went clothes shopping together. We've kicked it. It's been a solid 18 years of kicking it or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Easily.
So I appreciate you. I thank you for your contributions to this hip hop scene.
Thank you.
And just know that you really did make an impact, and you did make your name known around here.
I appreciate it.
And you know, I hold you to a very high regard to this hip hop scene.
Thank you so much.
So I'm super happy to showcase you. And we're gonna go ahead and get into this Lakai Junqtion track. It's called Another Day. It's a remix. So what's the story behind the remix?
The remix is just that we had beats from Stray, and then we had beats from Mesh. And so remixes were either done by Stray or Mesh. And so we did, for me, all my verses were not exactly the same. And there was some adjustments, I think, between Mesh and Unicus as well. But on the remixes, whatever I tried to do is I tried to change a few lines, or I tried to do a completely different line.
Okay.
So that's why some of them say remix.
Okay.
So
dope.
same song, just remixed with a different beat.
Okay, so Mesh made this beat then?
Yes.
Okay, dope. So be on the lookout for some new Tri-D music coming in 2020. I'm going to make sure it comes out.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm going to do some videos and all that 2020 shit for it too.
What?
It's going to be dope.
I've never done that.
It's going to be dope.
Bang!
But yeah, yo, thanks for listening to Organized Grind, the podcast. I'm Oracle Uno. We had Tri-D in the building tonight. This is Lakai Junqtion, Another Day, the remix produced by MeshOne. As always, peace and love.
Organized Grind with Oracle Uno. Recorded live at Graph Fruit Studios in South Minneapolis.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Feel like a celebrity whenever I MC. My nearest and dearest are entourage to me. Wish life was a constant party, hardly the possibility. Bills and other ills keep killing me. Refuse to be vexed, looking to the next pot of gold I can hold. My man Mesh help me set goals. Know that I can achieve, so I believe the only clear plateau is up and away I go. No hindrance or ignorance will be expected. My true friends, I love you, so never forget that. Kick in, kid, and you too can be cool enough to get some kickback, Jack.
Another day, another chance, another day to get it right. Another day, another chance, another day to get it right.
Another day to capture life, living life, capturing sights, sounds, heading westbound. Thoughts of the night before got me daydreaming, but I can't waste the day sleeping. Feed the body,
nutrients, wake up the mind, feeling brand new again. Talk to my mama, she gives me motivation. You gotta plant seeds to get vegetation. Don't gotta lie for what I've got, I'm thankful. Friends and family got me feeling special, like a birthday. My wordplay is worth celebrating. Got love in my heart, wish there was less hating. Another day, another chance to get it right. Putting together the puzzle that is your life. Every day you wake up with air in your lungs, feel the rays of the sun on your skin. You've begun. Another day, another chance to get it right. Putting together the puzzle that is your life. Every day you wake up with sight in your eyes. You have enough food supply, and 2 legs help your rise.
Feel like life's calling hasn't reached me. Like I'm in a basement, not receiving the incoming. Running to the handheld. When does a grown man stop wanting his handheld? The well water will falter if altered. My life's purpose now being lived for my daughters. The distinction distorted, realize not what I ordered. Oh, well, I'll be the defeatist and eat this. Swallowing pride and washing it down like a clown with nothing to hide inside or out, no doubt. Fighting bouts with angst and haters, jailing myself for all the touch later.
Another day, another chance, another day to get it right. Another day, another chance, another day to get it right. Great minds ago, they let us know you could be anything in this world of dreams. You can't let go, pursue your passion, even when people are doubting. Live, love, create this world, let's set it straight. Set goals, follow through, go. Until you try, you will never know. 24 hours in a day, make some use of it, or you regret every minute you didn't do shit. The clock is ticking from sun up to sundown. Fathers tell your sons up, don't sit around. Things to be done, whether big or minute. Don't be afraid, leap, your mind's your parachute. Another day, another chance to get it right. Putting together the puzzle that is your life. Every day you wake up with air in your lungs, feel the rays of the sun on your skin. You've begun. Another day, another chance to get it right. Putting together the puzzle that is your life. Every day you wake up with sight in your eyes. You have enough food supply, and 2 legs help your rise.
Barely above water, life got me like an iceberg, where the weight of my body might make the rest submerge. But what I realize as a test has occurred, no return upon investment unless a lesson is learned. So I wake up, stretch, scratch my balls, take a shower, eat my breakfast, brush my teeth within the hour. Out the door to face whatever that the day brings. The sun rays, that rain grace, amazing. Understand that friends, fans, and family provide the canopy, and it seems that they strengthen the foundation where I plant my seed, while others would kill to find the silver lining, never realizing that it lies right there beside us.
Another day, another chance, another day to get it right. Another day, another chance, another day to get it right.
Question, what defines success? Is it finding a fine dine to wind down for sex, or having more than you needed, a level of excess, while passing the poor on the street like you're better than the rest? Sell your soul on the scroll to be controlled by record execs. These negative effects outweigh that which is positive. On top of this, the thought of how this industry's lobotomized, just sliding through this fodder in order to find the bottom line. For me, it's easy, the reason to be thankful. Enough money in the bank to make sure that the tank's full, yup. And rent's covered for another month. The struggle's a blessing in disguise, never troubling us.
Yeah.